All right, today we are going to dive into a seriously powerful way to solve problems, not just for today, but for good. It's called root cause analysis.
You know that feeling, right? You fix something, you check it off your list, and then, a little while later, it's back. It's like you're playing this never-ending, frustrating game of whack-a-mole.
Well, there's a good reason for that. Chances are you're just putting a Band-Aid on a symptom instead of digging in and finding out what's really causing the trouble in the first place.
And that, my friends, is where root cause analysis, or RCA, comes into the picture. Honestly, think of it like a detective's toolkit. It's a methodical way to investigate an issue, to look past all the obvious, surface-level clues, and find the real culprit so you can make sure it never causes trouble again.
So before you can start using these tools, you got to get into the right mindset. You have to think like a detective. And every good investigation follows a few core principles, kind of like the rules of engagement.
So here they are, the ground rules. First, you've got to push past the symptoms. You have to understand that there can be, and often are, multiple causes all tangled up together. And this next one is huge. Focus on the how and the why, not the who. It's not about blame. It's about the process. You need to back everything up with solid cause and effect evidence. And finally, you're not done until you have a plan to fix it now and a plan to stop it from ever coming back.
This quote just nails that first principle, doesn't it? I mean, focusing only on symptoms can be really dangerous. Sure, give someone aspirin for a headache, that's the symptom. But what if the root cause is something way more serious? Our job is to avoid these temporary aspirin fixes.
And remember, the big problems, they rarely have just one simple cause. Think about it like a crime investigation. You always have to look for accomplices. When the Space Shuttle Columbia was lost, the investigation didn't just point to one thing. It found a web of causes, politics, tight budgets, and a culture of complacency. You had to address all of them to truly solve the problem.
Okay, this is so important. The wrong way to investigate is what we call the blame game. You're just trying to find out who messed up. When you do that, the problem almost always comes back. The right way is to focus on how and why the system, the process itself, allowed that mistake to happen in the first place. That's how you fix things for good. All right, so we've got the detective's mindset down. Now for the fun part. Let's open up the investigator's kit and look at the tools we can use to start digging.
Now, one of the most famous tools is also one of the simplest. It's called the 5 whys. It's basically a simple interrogation technique. You just keep asking why again and again, and it forces you to drill down past all the obvious answers to get to what's really going on.
Let's try it out with a problem I think we can all relate to. You get to your desk, you're ready to start the day, you take that first sip of coffee and, it's cold, again. So our problem statement is, my coffee is always cold.
Okay, let's start digging. Why #1? Why is my coffee cold? Well, because I make it too early. Okay, that makes sense. But let's go deeper. Why #2? Why do I make it too early? Because my morning routine is just too long. Interesting. Now we're getting somewhere. Let's keep going. Why #3? Why is my routine so long? Well, because after I make my coffee, I sit down to just check my email for a minute. So, why #4? Why does that take so long? Because I immediately get sucked in and distracted by work. And now for the fifth and final why. Why do I get so distracted by work? Because my work notifications are on my phone and they just pull me right out of my morning routine and into work mode. And bam, there it is. The root cause isn't the coffee pot or when I wake up, it's the notifications on my phone. Now that is a problem I can actually fix.
So, once you think you've found a cause, another cool tool can help you make sense of it. This is a root cause taxonomy. Think of it like a checklist of common hideouts for problems. Is the issue with the original design? Or maybe the equipment? Or is it something related to management or training? A list like this just makes sure you've looked in all the right places.
Okay, so you've done your digging, you've used the 5 whys, and now you might have a list of potential suspects. The next big question is, which ones are the real masterminds behind the problem?
Because here's the secret. When you look at any problem, you'll find that a tiny handful of causes are responsible for most, and I mean most, of the pain.
And this brings us to the famous Pareto principle. You've probably heard of it as the 80-20 rule. It basically says that in a lot of situations, about 80% of the bad stuff, the consequences, comes from only 20% of the causes. Our job is to find that critical 20%.
So, let's say we're investigating shipping errors in a warehouse. We collect the data for all the different types of errors, and we plot it on a chart. Right now, it just looks like a jumble of bars. It's kind of hard to see what's really going on.
But watch what happens with one simple change. All we do is sort the causes from the most frequent to the least frequent. And instantly it becomes crystal clear, right? Our prime suspect is right there in plain sight. We know exactly where the biggest problem is.
And this is the whole shebang, a full Pareto chart. We've got our sorted bars, but we've added this line that shows the cumulative percentage. And just look at that. The first two bars, wrong items sent and damaged packaging, they account for almost 75% of all our problems. That's the 80-20 rule in action. This chart is basically screaming at us, telling us exactly where to focus our energy to get the biggest bang for our buck.
Finding the root cause? That's a huge breakthrough. It's the aha moment. But a good detective knows the investigation isn't over yet. The final critical part is making sure that case is closed for good.
And this is where the rubber meets the road. You have to take everything you've learned and build a concrete plan of action. But it's not just about fixing the immediate problem. You have to change the system, tweak the process, and do whatever it takes to make sure that root cause can never cause trouble again.
So that's our deep dive into root cause analysis. And I'll leave you with a challenge, a question to think about. What's that one recurring problem, that one annoying symptom in your work or your life that you're now ready to put on your detective hat and start investigating?